The Ventura versus Ryan game. This wasn't just a fight. It was a one-way beatdown caught on national TV. A Hall of Famer turned executioner. A rising star turned regret machine. August 4th, 1993, Rangers versus White Sox. Nolan Ryan, 46 years old, 324 wins. A living legend on the mound. At the plate, Robin Ventura, 26, young, talented, not known for being reckless, until this. Ryan drills him in the back with a fastball. Intentional? Probably. Payback for a previous slide. But Ventura, he charges the mound. Big mistake. Ryan calmly tosses his glove, sidesteps the tackle like he's done this before, and locks Ventura into a headlock, and then starts punching his face. 1 hit, 2, 3, like an uncle teaching respect at Thanksgiving. Bench is clear, chaos erupts. Ventura's teammates pry him out. He comes out bloodied, humiliated. Ryan doesn't even flinch. He stays in the game, finishes 7 innings, gets the win. The photo of that moment, Ryan hammer-fisting Ventura, became a baseball relic. But for the MLB, it was a PR nightmare. A young all-star getting tuned up by a man twice his age on primetime. They handed down suspensions, fines, but the damage was done. You don't forget that kind of pounding. Neither did Ventura. And Ryan, he just wiped his hand and went back to work. The bug game. Here's the postseason moment that MLB wishes had just blown away. October 5th, 2007, ALDS Game 2. Yankees versus Indians. Cool autumn air. National spotlight, high pressure. Then, invasion. Not by a team, by midgets. Tiny, winged menaces that suddenly swarmed into Jacobs Field like they were summoned from hell. And right in the center of it, rookie phenom Joba Chamberlain. Joba wasn't just good, he was destined. 98 on the gun. Fans already penciled him in as Mariano's heir. But midgets don't care about legacy. They want warmth, sweat, eyeballs. He's on the mound swatting, twitching, blinking like he's being waterboarded by midgets. His composure melted. Yankees trainers try spraying bug repellent mid-inning. Umpires say play on. Joe Torre wants to stop the game. MLB says no dice. Then the breakdown. Joba walks Grady Sizemore. Then wild pitch. Runner scores, tie game. Another wild pitch. It's not pitching anymore, it's flailing through entomological warfare. The Indians win in extras. Joba walks off defeated, covered in bug bites and shame. That was his first playoff moment, his big stage intro, and it turned into a slapstick nature documentary. The emotional sting? He never recovered the aura. The Yankees lost the series. Torre left, and Joba's career was never the same. Fans laugh. Cleveland fans still sell Invasion of the Midgets shirt. But for Joba, that game buzzed straight into his nightmare. Forget the Yankees versus India. This was MLB versus Mother Nature, and Mother Nature won in extras. Oakland Coliseum game. September 13th, 2004. Oakland Coliseum, Rangers versus A's, bottom of the 9th, tensions tight, and then chaos. It started with a heckle. As Rangers reliever Frank Francisco sat in the bullpen, a couple of A's fans got loud, real loud, taunting players, crossing lines, and then one fan reportedly threw a cup. Francisco didn't throw a response. He threw a chair, a full folding chair, launched into the stands. It smacked a female fan in the face, broke her nose, and sent her straight to the hospital. Blood everywhere. Game still going. But now, every Ranger in the bullpen flooded into the stands. Full-on melee. Fans swinging. Players swinging back. Security's nowhere. Broadcasters are speechless. The camera crew doesn't even know where to aim. Michael Lewis once called baseball a gentleman's game. This was a felony. Francisco was arrested. Suspended for the rest of the season. Fined. Sued. The league buried the footage. PR teams went full damage control. But the image of a pro athlete hurling furniture into a crowd? Too late. MLB slapped new fan conduct rules on stadiums after that. Quietly. No press tour, no campaign. They just wanted the world to forget that for one night, the players fought the fans and almost lost. The parachute game. It was a quiet Monday night at Shea Stadium. October 25th, 1986. World Series Game 6, Mets versus Red Sox. Crowd buzzing, game cruising. Then out of nowhere, a man falls from the sky. Literally. In the middle of the game, a guy in a harness parachutes into center field. Floats in like some confused angel. Lands on the turf like he just overshot a camping trip. Everyone's stunned. The outfielders freeze. Umpires look up like it's a biblical play. The crowd. First silence, then full-blown cheers. A standing ovation for the world's boldest trespasser. His name was Michael Sergio. An actor, a protester. The banner strapped to his back said, U.S. out of Central America. Because sure, why not use the middle of a baseball game to drop some foreign policy takes? Security sprinted out. He got tackled before he could even unclip his harness. But the moment immortalized. The Mets were in the middle of a historic season, on their way to 108 wins and a World Series title. But for one surreal inning, the spotlight belonged to a skydiver who crash-landed into sports history. Sergio was arrested and charged with criminal trespass, refused to give up the name of his pilot, spent time in jail for it. The man literally served hard time for pulling off baseball's wildest live-action protest stunt. MLB wanted this buried, but the sky never forgets, and neither does Shea. From the clouds to handcuffs, in under 30 seconds. The Gary Sheffield fan clash game. April 14th, 2005. Yankees versus Red Sox. The rivalry was already redlining. Fenway Park packed, hostile, and buzzed on beer and history. And Gary Sheffield, Yankees outfielder with a hair-trigger temper, was patrolling right field like a coiled spring. Bottom of the 8th. Jason Varitek hits a ball toward the corner. Sheffield sprints after it. As he bends to field it, a fan leans over the wall and takes a swipe at him. It might have been the ball, might have been Sheffield. Either way, he snaps. Sheffield turns and swings an elbow back at the fan's face. Sharp, instinctual, and 1 inch from total disaster. He shoves the guy, checks if the ball's still in play, and nearly lunges again before security intervenes. Another fan throws beer. Players on both teams inch toward the foul line. It looks like a riot brewing in slow motion. Sheffield keeps his cool, barely, and finishes the play. The fans escorted out, claiming he just reached for the ball. MLB says they reviewed the tape and ruled there wasn't sufficient contact to escalate. But everyone saw it. A player threw a retaliatory swing at a fan during live play, on camera, on highlight reels, on loop. Sheffield said later he was just defending himself. MLB said nothing at all. Because in a league that thrives on family-friendly pageantry, the image of one of your stars almost decking a fan in the face? Yeah, that's not going in the season recap. The Papelbon Harper choke game. September 27th, 2015. Nationals versus Phillies. Final week of the season. Nothing on the line except pride, egos, and maybe the last shreds of clubhouse sanity. Bryce Harper was having an MVP season. Face of the franchise, bat hot, hair hotter, already jacked a solo homer earlier in the game. But then came a flyout, routine, jog to first, and Jonathan Papelbon, former closer, full-time lunatic, took offense. Said Harper didn't hustle. So what does he do? He waits in the dugout, and as Harper walks past, lunges at him. Wraps both hands around his neck, pins him to the wall like he's trying to reset his rooter with violence. Teammates jump in, shouting, pushing, total meltdown. Cameras caught the whole thing. Broadcasters go silent. The Nats? They pulled Harper from the game. The crowd boos. The internet erupts. The next day, Papelbon gets suspended for the rest of the season. Manager Matt Williams gets fired a week later. The team collapses. Chemistry? Gone. MLB did everything it could to spin it as internal tension. But everyone knew what they saw. Your closer tried to strangle your franchise player on live TV. That's not just dysfunction, that's a documentary. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting a lot more on this channel. Thanks. Anyways, the All-Star Game tie, July 9th, 2002. Miller Park, All-Star Game. National League versus American League. This is supposed to be MLB's crown jewel, an exhibition loaded with legends, million-dollar swings, and absolutely no pressure, until the game goes to extra innings. Top of the 11th, then the bottom. Scores still tied, 7-7. Then the nightmare begins. Both teams are out of pitchers. Starters are long gone. Relievers tapped out, managers scrambling. Nobody wants to throw a position player. Nobody wants to risk injury. Nobody has a plan. So Bud Selig, MLB commissioner, Wisconsin native, and Miller Park's godfather, steps in. He walks down to the dugouts and says the unthinkable. If no one scores, we're calling it. They do. The All-Star Game ends in a tie. Crowd goes ballistic. Boos rain down. Fans chuck garbage onto the field. Firebud chants. Jeter looks confused. Barry Bonds looks pissed. Nobody knows what just happened. MLB scrambles. The next day, they claim health and safety concerns. But the truth? They never thought to set rules for extra innings. Zero planning. Total faceplant. So what does MLB do to fix it? They go nuclear. Declare that future All-Star Game winners will determine World Series home field advantage. From meaningless to way too meaningful. All because in 2002, the league's best ended the night in a deadlock. Confused, embarrassed, and standing on a field full of trash. Baseball didn't just tie that night. It choked. The Gooden disappearance game. April 3rd, 1987. Opening day. Mets versus Pirates, defending champs, packed stadium. But one man is missing. Dwight Gooden, the ace, the phenomenon. The 1985 Cy Young winner with a 1.53 ERA. The man with magic in his right arm. And he's nowhere to be found. Gooden didn't just miss his start. He vanished from the team. Didn't call, didn't show. Reporters asked. The Mets dodged. Fans panicked. Then the truth broke. He'd failed a drug test for cocaine. And he wasn't just suspended, he was in rehab. A 22-year-old superstar broken before his prime. But it wasn't just about the drugs. It was what they took from him. Doc Gooden should have owned the 1980s. Instead, opening day became a ghost story. The team raised a championship banner without their golden boy. Fans cried, teammates fumed. Keith Hernandez called it a tragedy. Darryl Strawberry, battling his own demons, said he saw it coming. And the Mets? They played that game. Beat the Pirates 3-2. But it felt hollow. No Doc, no dominance. Just a stadium full of people realizing that sometimes greatness comes with a shadow. MLB buried the story as fast as it could. But every time Gooden took the mound after that, the question lingered. How do you cheer a comeback when you watch the collapse live? 10-cent beer night. This wasn't a baseball game. It was a riot in slow motion, and MLB wishes it never left the dugout. June 4th, 1974, Cleveland Municipal Stadium, Indians versus Rangers. And a promo idea so dumb it had to be dreamed up on a hangover. Beer. For 10 cents. The crowd came thirsty. Over 25,000 fans showed up. Some brought their own cups. Others just brought rage. Cleveland had a grudge after a bench-clearing brawl with Texas 6 days earlier. So when the first pitch dropped, it was already simmering. By the 5th inning, the fans were wasted. Like hospital visit wasted. Naked guy runs across the field. Another steals second base, literally removes it from the ground. People chucking hot dogs at umpires. Firecrackers in the dugouts. Then it got violent. In the 9th, a fan runs up and tries to steal Jeff Burrow's hat. Rangers think he's being attacked. They storm the field. Bats drawn. Chaos explodes. Fans jump the rails. It's a full-scale brawl between drunks and professionals. Chairs fly, knives flash. One ump gets hit with a rock. The Indians even join the Rangers to defend themselves. That's how bad it got. Both teams uniting against their own fans. Umpires call the game. Forfeit to Texas. The league buries the footage. Cleveland's front office called it a miscalculation. MLB called it a black eye. 10-cent beer cost them a decade of dignity. Disco Demolition Night. This is the game where baseball tried to be cool and accidentally started a riot. July 12, 1979, Comiskey Park, White Sox versus Tigers. A local Chicago radio DJ named Steve Dahl had an idea. Bring your disco records to the stadium, get in for 98 cents, and watch him blow them up between games of a doubleheader. Sounds funny, right? It was. Until 50,000 people showed up. Not all of them came for baseball. Many came for chaos. Booze flowed, firecrackers popped. Fans threw albums like frisbees across the field. People were climbing poles, storming fences, getting high in the bleachers. By the 5th inning, it was clear. The real party wasn't on the scoreboard. Then came the explosion. In center field, Dahl detonated a crate of disco records. The blast tore a crater in the turf. Fans stormed the field. Not metaphorically, literally. Thousands rushed in, tore up bases, lit banners on fire. One guy slid into second on his chest, naked. The field was wrecked. Police had to come in riot gear. The White Sox forfeited the second game. MLB was humiliated. What started as a cheap promo turned into one of the most infamous forfeits in league history. Baseball wanted to kill disco. Turns out, disco took the whole stadium with it. The Pedro versus Zimmer game. October 11th, 2003. ALCS Game 3. Red Sox versus Yankees. Tension's already boiling, and by the 4th inning, baseball snapped in half. It started with Pedro Martinez, Boston's ace, king of K's, and villain in the Bronx. He buzzed Kareem Garcia up high, real high. Benches chirped, warnings issued, but you knew it was only the beginning. Next inning, Roger Clemens, Yankee psycho in residence, returns the favor. He fires one near Manny Ramirez's head. Manny loses it, shouting, pointing, and just like that, bench is clear. Now here's where it goes off the rails. From the Yankee dugout charges Don Zimmer. 72 years old, bench coach, baseball lifer, built like a fire hydrant and running like a toddler in traffic. He beelines for Pedro, not shoving, not talking, charging. Pedro, confused, bracing, grabs Zimmer's head and gently tosses him to the ground like a sack of potatoes. It looks bad. Real bad. Zimmer rolls over on the grass. Crowd gasps, cameras freeze. MLB's nightmare. One of its oldest figures face down in the dirt, and a superstar pitcher caught on film doing the tossing. The fallout was instant. Zimmer apologized. Pedro didn't. The league handed out fines and suspensions like Halloween candy. And the rivalry went nuclear. Red Sox versus Yankees already had blood. Now it had a full-on generational collapse. Baseball wanted to call it passion, but to everyone watching, it looked like a mugging. The Bautista versus Odor game, May 15th, 2016. Rangers versus Blue Jays. Regular season? Technically. But make no mistake, this was a grudge match. A rematch from the 2015 ALDS, where Jose Bautista hit that iconic bat flip home run that sent Texas into a year-long rage coma. They remembered. And they wanted revenge. So in the 8th inning, with the Rangers up by 1, pitcher Matt Bush plunks Bautista with a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. Message sent. But Bautista wasn't done. Next play, he slides hard into second. Real hard. Aimed directly at Odor. Then the fuse hits the bomb. Odor steps back, drops the glove, and clocks Bautista in the jaw with a right hook so clean it could have ended a welterweight title fight. Bautista's glasses fly off like a cartoon. Benches clear, punches fly. It's not just pushing, it's fighting. Blue Jays coach punches a Ranger in the face. A fan tries to climb into the dugout. This thing was one scooter away from becoming a full brawl montage. Odor gets suspended 8 games. Fine. Bautista gets 1 game. But honestly, the win goes to Odor. Because that punch, it lives forever. MLB tried to downplay it, just heightened emotion. But everyone watching knew that wasn't baseball justice. That was Texas street law. The Cobb assault game, May 15th, 1912. Highlanders versus Tigers. And Cobb, already known as baseball's angriest man, decided to make league history. For the worst reason. In the stands at Hilltop Park, a disabled fan named Claude Luker had been heckling Cobb all game. Brutal stuff. Racist taunts. Personal jabs. But Cobb? He snapped. He leapt the fence into the crowd, in full uniform, and began beating Luker. Open fist, stomps, the works. Fans screamed. Players watched in shock. Someone yelled, "He has no hands," a reference to Luker's amputated fingers. Cobb's response, "I don't care if he's got no feet." He kept swinging. Ushers dragged him off. The league immediately suspended him. Finally. Discipline. But his teammates? They refused to play the next game in protest. So the Tigers fielded a team of replacement players, literally local amateurs and office staff. They lost 24-2. Cobb watched from the stands, reportedly laughing. MLB tried to bury the whole episode. No video, no press blitz. Just shame. This wasn't just a tantrum. It was a premeditated beating of a disabled fan. On camera, it'd be viral infamy. Back then, just a footnote. Cobb was fine. Nothing else. He went on to become one of the first Hall of Famers. He's still celebrated as a legend. But this game, it exposed who he really was. And the league? They didn't delete the box score, but they definitely wanted to delete the man behind it. The Chris Sale jersey massacre. July 23rd, 2016. White Sox versus Tigers. But nobody remembers the score. They remember the scissors. It was throwback night at US Cellular Field. The White Sox were supposed to wear collared 1976-style navy jerseys. Wide lapels, big buttons, full disco vibes. Most guys just rolled their eyes and put them on. Chris Sale, he declared war. He didn't like the fit. Said they were uncomfortable. Messed with his delivery. But instead of filing a complaint, he walked into the clubhouse and cut them to pieces. Literally. Took scissors and shredded every single throwback jersey. Players showed up to dress and found a crime scene. Torn sleeves, ripped collars, fabric everywhere. The team had no uniforms to wear. So what did the Sox do? They scratched Sale from the start and sent him home. Later that night, the press found out why, and the internet lost its mind. The ace of the rotation had destroyed his own team's uniforms because he didn't like the design. Not the color, not the logo, the collars. Sale got suspended 5 games, fined. The team had to do damage control. MLB said almost nothing. But behind the scenes, execs were livid, and Sale, he doubled down. Said he'd do it again, not over performance, not over losing, over aesthetics. It wasn't a baseball play, it was a fashion crime. And it slashed the White Sox's credibility right down the middle. The Lights Out game, August 12, 1990. White Sox versus Brewers. Old Comiskey Park, a Sunday night showcase on ESPN. Cameras rolling, fans packed in, top of the fourth, then boom, blackout. The lights shut off. Not flickered, not dimmed, gone. Stadium plunged into total darkness. Players froze, fans screamed. Security ran around with flashlights like a Scooby-Doo episode. No one knew what happened. Turns out, the stadium's light tower transformer blew. One of the oldest parks in baseball just gave up. The power system was from another era, literally pre-World War II. And now, it was toast. So what did MLB do? They delayed the game for over an hour. Electricians climbing things, announcers vamping, players playing catch in pitch black. It was chaos. They couldn't fix it, so the umpires called it. Game suspended. Everyone went home in the dark, literally and metaphorically. The worst part? It wasn't the first time. Comiskey had lighting issues for years. But this was national TV. A showcase moment turned into a technological faceplant. MLB stayed quiet. No press conference, no public apology. They just rescheduled the game and pretended it was a fluke. But fans knew. Baseball's tradition-obsessed charm had finally short-circuited. The league's oldest stadium got caught with its wires down, and the world saw it happen. It wasn't just a power outage. It was the night baseball's nostalgia turned the lights off on itself. The fan punches the ump game. September 19th, 2002. Royals versus White Sox, Comiskey Park, bottom of the ninth, game dragging, emotions low. Until one of the wildest, most surreal moments in MLB history ran out of the stand. A 24-year-old man named Eric Dybes and his father, William League Jr., jumped the outfield railing, sprinted toward first base, and punched umpire Laz Diaz in the jaw. No warning, no buildup. Just straight-up felony assault in the middle of a game. It wasn't just a punch, it was a combo. He landed multiple shots before Diaz's crewmates tackled him to the ground. Diaz? Staggered but still standing. But it didn't stop there. Because the wildest part? The fan's dad was with him. That's right. This was a father-son assault team. Seconds later, William League Sr. also rushed the field and joined in, helping his son throw fists at a stunned Diaz. This wasn't just fan interference. It was a tag team ambush. The entire stadium went silent, then erupted. Security swarmed, players stood frozen, broadcasters didn't even know what to say. The umps were shaken. The game barely mattered anymore. Both men were arrested and charged with aggravated battery. Dybes was later found to be drunk and on probation. Major League Baseball immediately increased on-field security protocols. The White Sox issued a formal apology. Diaz stayed in the league, unshaken somehow. But for MLB, it was a nightmare. A national TV moment where a fan literally attacked the authority figure in the middle of the field. They wanted it forgotten, but the punch still echoes. By the way, if you guys are still here, leave a comment on your favorite segment so far. Thanks. The Battle of Candlestick. August 22nd, 1965. Giants versus Dodgers. The rivalry was already soaked in venom. These teams hated each other on principle. Candlestick Park was buzzing, tension crackling in the San Francisco air. Juan Marichal, Giants ace, Cy Young talent, future Hall of Famer, was on the mound. John Roseboro, Dodgers catcher, tough, unshakable, was behind the plate. It started small. Marichal had already dusted a few Dodgers with chin music. The Dodgers weren't amused. When Sandy Koufax lobbed one harmlessly inside to retaliate, Roseboro decided to handle it himself. He tossed the ball back to the pitcher, just a little too close to Marichal's ear. And that's when it broke. Marichal turned and clubbed Roseboro in the head with his bat. Not once, twice. Blood everywhere. Roseboro dropped, benches cleared in seconds. Koufax tried to play peacemaker. Willie Mays shielded Roseboro from the crowd. It was mayhem. A full-on battlefield in the Bay. Roseboro needed stitches. Marichal got suspended 8 games, fined $1,750, and somehow still pitched again that season. The incident haunted Marichal's legacy for decades. Some say it kept him out of the Hall of Fame for years. It certainly cracked the league's clean image wide open. MLB rarely mentions it. No promos, no tributes. Just one blurry clip and a whole lot of hush. Because when your stars settle scores with bats to the skull, that's not a rivalry. That's a war crime. The Pine Tar Game. This wasn't just a rule violation, it was baseball's version of a courtroom drama with a bat as the murder weapon. July 24th, 1983. Yankees versus Royals. Top of the ninth. George Brett steps to the plate. 2 outs. Royals down by 1. He smashes a 2-run homer off Goose Gossage. Crowd explodes. Royals take the lead. Then the umpires check his bat. They huddle, inspect, measure, pause, and then they point, he's out. Why? Because the pine tar on Brett's bat was too high up the handle. More than 18 inches, violating an obscure rule no one had enforced in decades. Suddenly, the home runs are raised. Game over. Yankees win, or so they think. Because out of that dugout comes George Brett, furious, hair wild, eyes nuclear, sprinting at the umpires like he's about to take down the whole officiating crew with bare hands. His manager and teammates have to hold him back as the stadium erupts. It's one of the most iconic meltdowns ever caught on tape. MLB's officials looked petty. The rule was dumb. The call overturned days later. Brett's homer restored. The game resumed weeks later, from the exact moment it ended. George Brett's rage became legend. MLB's rulebook became a meme. And to this day, pine tar doesn't just mean grip. It means a PR nightmare with a side of rage sprint. The Padres-Braves war game, August 12, 1984. Fulton County Stadium, Braves versus Padres. On paper, just a Sunday doubleheader. In reality, baseball Armageddon. It all kicked off in the second inning when Braves pitcher Pascal Perez, already known for beating guys with bad intentions, nailed Alan Wiggins in the back on the very first pitch of the game. Bad blood? Boiling. The Padres vowed revenge and spent the next 6 innings trying and failing to hit Perez. 4 separate attempts, 4 separate misses, 4 warnings from the umpires. Then all hell broke loose. In the 8th, Padres pitcher Craig Lefferts finally connected, drilled Perez in the elbow. Perez throws his bat like a javelin. Benches clear, punches fly. That was Brawl 1. Then, while things were barely cooling, Brawl 2 ignites. Braves fans start chucking drinks at Padres players. One fan actually climbs into the dugout. Another whacks Kurt Bavacqua in the head with a beer mug. Then comes Brawl 3. Even crazier. Padres manager Dick Williams tries to go after a fan himself. He gets arrested on the spot. 13 players ejected. 3 fans arrested. Blood on jerseys. Security overwhelmed. MLB tried to frame it as an isolated incident, but this wasn't baseball gone wrong. It was a full-scale meltdown where the line between player and fan didn't just blur, it shattered. The footage? Grainy? The shame? Permanent. So yeah, these are the games MLB hopes you'll just quietly forget. The riots, the bat assaults, the chair tosses, the blackouts, brawls, and players going full WWE on each other, or the fans. Moments where the script flipped and the league's polished image cracked wide open. They weren't just embarrassing, they were revealing. Because baseball loves to sell itself as America's pastime, tradition, class, clean lines, and crisp uniforms. But peel back the highlight reels and there's a whole other story. One full of chaos, crime, ego, and pure, unfiltered meltdown. And that's why these games matter. Because they weren't the league's best moments, but they might have been the most honest. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.